The nostalgic lines of the Morgan motor car have changed little since the 30s, nor has the traditional way the car is crafted. Today, Morgan has become one of the great British names, in demand all over the world as the classic hand-built car. But its very popularity is now its biggest problem. The company is faced with a backlog of orders they can't meet and waiting lists which have stretched to over 10 years. They desperately want to make more cars, but how? For Morgan, the need to increase production has become urgent.
But you already did have.
Sir John Harvey Jones, ex-chairman of ICI, is one of Britain's best-known and respected industrialists. He's agreed to try and help the company, which has fascinated him since his childhood.
As a boy, I used to lust and yearn for the day when I could own a Morgan three-wheeler. They were a great thing to dream about. My first car was a three-wheeler.
Was it really?
Where did you come from?
Leicester.
How long did it take you? What you started off last April?
Pretty way.
I don't think I've ever seen a product which people actually love as much as they love these cars. It's clear it's got the most tremendous appeal.
At the moment, we're delivering cars to people who ordered them in 1978. That's 11 years ago, and it will probably take us the next 2 years to work through the 78, 79 orders. So those are firm orders with deposits.
You're telling me that some of them are dead?
Some of them are dead, right? 3 or 4 that I happen to know about, having looked through the list. But 460 orders on our books. And last year we got 12 cars.
Well, on the basis of 12 cars and a list of 450 people, it's a 40-year waiting
on paper, it's 40 years. I mean,
I'm definitely too late.
We do not want this long delay of, well, we're having to quote 4 to 5 years at the moment. And frankly, I think that's a shame because people want Morgan sooner. And in England, they're pretty patient, they will wait. But obviously we lose out on customers. I mean, I know when we show at the motor shows, people come up to stand, oh, how long does it take to get a Morgan, you know? Oh, 3 to 4 years. Oh, that's too long, and they just walk off. Nobody could kind of quickly increase the numbers of Morgans produced or do, you know, double production overnight or something like that. You couldn't, because all the people we have here, virtually, they are all trained here.
Training a Morgan worker can take up to 4 years, because the company is still making cars in the same hand-built way it has since it began in 1909. It's still a small family company, employing 130 people and turning out just 9 cars a week. Peter Morgan is determined to preserve the tradition and the business his father built up. From those first 3-wheeled cycle cars, the Morgan runabout aimed to bring motoring within the reach of everyone. But by the 30s, 3-wheeled cars were on their way out, so Morgan launched their 4-wheeled sports car. It's this model that's been the basis of the Morgan style ever since.
We have been doing 10 cars in some shops once a month, in some shops, particularly, obviously, the chassis department. But other departments...
Now it's up to Peter Morgan's son, Charles, to carry on the family tradition, as Peter Morgan is due to step down as managing director.
But what we haven't done...
Charles Morgan is determined to tackle the production problem and has been trying to increase output gradually. He wants the workforce to agree to make 1 extra car a week. a move from 9 to 10 cars a week.
In other words, I'm afraid, I don't want to name a particular department, but...
That 10th car to a shop with 3 in is worth a lot more than what it is to a shop with 18, which we've got.
Well, it's not actually. Not if we do this and we look at what people actually get. That's exactly what I'm saying, actually. Is that it does work out, but you can't say that until we do it.
Really, it's our job to make the cars and your job to sort out the money side of it. So, you're trying to get us to sort everything out in that respect.
No, we're not sorting out.
To work it out, see if it works.
We'll sort out the money, but then the only way...
Yeah, but you've been saying this for years, about this 10th car. We never get any nearer to it.
Well, you haven't been making it, that's the problem.
That's what I just said, because, we haven't had a figure on the, on the board in black and white saying what we're going to get.
Well, no.
I think Sir John Harvey James could teach me an enormous amount about managerial skills, which I never learned at university. We are a very traditional company, even down to not having a computer. But I think there's a very strong argument to say that we could be just that bit bigger and as successful as we are now.
Probably with all of us here, we can just about get the 10 out.
Before I visited the factory, I spent some time going through the accounts. What at first sight looks absolutely great, an enormous demand for the product, really conceals, I think, a number of problems. They're just not making enough profit to reinvest to secure the long-term future of the company. The first thing that immediately strikes you is that the company isn't going anywhere very fast. The level of sales have been about the same for some time. The level of profits has been about the same. They've obviously made a lot of changes and improvements in the car itself, but they're all fairly modest, and they are plainly stuck at a plateau. And that, despite the fact there's a large demand for the car, so something's very wrong somewhere. But until I see the factory, I can't really judge whether it's a people problem or an equipment problem or a layout problem or what it is.
I'm sure Sir John will be helpful to us, yes, I'm quite certain of that. I think even if he makes some very critical remarks, I hope we've been building the cars long enough, and I've been in the job a sufficient number of years not to worry.
This must be it. It's a bit different to Volkswagen, which was the last car factory I went to. Yes, this is it, all right. Look at the Morgan.
Do have a chair, Sir John. Just so down. Come to help us out, haven't you?
Well, I don't know. I hope I can. I'm not too sure. You're a slightly different problem to the ones I'm usually accustomed to.
Well, I'm sure of that.
But one of the things that fascinates me is that you do have such a very long waiting list.
I call them popularity peaks. Yes. Hopefully they kind of stay there. But, no, by and large, Morgan owners are prepared to wait. Not in every instance. I mean, in Italy, they want the car right away. There's no doubt about that.
Italians want everything right away, don't they?
Italians right away. But, no, in this country, people are patient. But there is an interesting thing, is that what I find is there's quite a bit of speculation goes on with the Morgan. Because it is possible, when you buy it, to sell it quickly, delivery mileage and what have you.
Well, that's one of the things that slightly worries me. It seems to me one of the ways of putting the waiting list down is to push the prices up.
Well, yes. It's traditionally, the Morgan has always been a cheap car. And Father, you see, started with a three-wheeler. And that was, I mean, it was £85.
But you see, it can't be a cheap car, though, because presumably in a car of this sort, the labour content is, nearly 40% of the cost of the car? Or?
I would say between 30 and 40.
Yes, I worked out about a third.
Yep, I think so.
That's a lot, and if that's a fixed cost for you. But you've got the potential for putting much more money behind the business if you wanted to, but you'd need a higher profitability than you're turning at the moment.
That's right, that's right.
But I can't see what's stopping your profit going up, except a touching diffidence and lack of greed on your part.
Well, I often jokingly say that, if I had a yacht in the Mediterranean, if it didn't turn rough within 2 days, I'd get bored and probably be rather back here.
Hello.
Ah!
Glad to see you.
Yes, good to see you.
I had a great chat with Peter, and I'm fascinated to try and see whether your perceptions are the same as his, or whether you have different views, and what you see the main problems and opportunities as.
I mean, obviously, one of my feelings is that, you know, one ought to make more cars to satisfy this waiting list. You know, obviously, if one makes the extra car, that's 40 cars a year, you know, those extra 40, 50 cars would look quite good on our...
Would the labour cost be the same?
Yes, I mean, that's one of the things that I've, you know, tried very hard to make sure is going to happen this time round.
Yes, it should be, but it may be very difficult to negotiate that.
Well, that's exactly what I'm in the process of doing. I mean, I quite agree with you, it is difficult. You know, obviously a lot of these arguments do end up on pure money.
Well, I certainly don't feel from either Peter or Charles the sort of urgency that I would have expected, nor the readiness to grasp the opportunities, because this company's got the classic opportunity of increasing its prices. If they don't take it, they're not raising enough money to reinvest, and unless they do, they won't survive.
Where we are now is obviously the spare parts department.
Yes.
Within this department here we have both production parts and parts for older vehicles.
Well, this is the moment I've been waiting for. Mark Aston, the works manager, is going to take me round the factory.
We try to supply parts back to about 1950.
Golly.
And so, although it's a relatively small department, the parts are obviously spread throughout the factory.
How do you control stock levels then?
Well, when they start running down that we can see that they're running down, we reorder.
It's a sort of visual control system.
That's right, absolutely.
And then you have, what, some genius somewhere analysing the throughput and deciding what is the appropriate level to carry?
Well, that's right. When it gets low, it comes through to Mr. Talbot, and then he comes through to me, and then we reorder.
OK, now, walk me through a car.
Actually, through the production.
I'd like to actually follow where if I were a car, where I'd go. Yeah.
No problem at all.
What I need to find out is whether, without altering the basically hand-built nature of the car, there aren't ways in which they can produce more and also produce more cheaply.
On this side, mount the axle and gradually build up the car until at the end of the week they have it all separate.
How do you do? Glad to meet you. Hello. That's you? Hello. You're the foreman, huh?
I am, yes.
How long have you been working here?
30 years, 31 years.
Always on chassis?
Yes. Yes.
My God, you must know your chassis by now.
Yes.
Have you seen a lot of changes during that time?
No, not a great deal at all, no.
I'm already beginning to worry a bit about the lack of more than the most elementary jigs or handling equipment, which after all don't make a difference to the essential hand-built nature of the car.
Out of the door here.
Yeah.
We can walk on through where it goes from there.
Right, where are we heading now, Mark?
Into the wood shop.
Yeah. You are slightly swimming against the tide, aren't you? In fact, not slightly, you're substantially
Well, we
swimming.
are, in fact, in the way we're actually building a traditional sports car.
Yeah.
In the old-fashioned style.
And what is the wood used mostly?
It's all ash wood, basically. And it will be planed and cut to an appropriate shape.
Their pride seems to be in manufacturing from the furthest back state that they can buy the basic raw material. I mean, I'm surprised they don't start with the tree, actually.
The layout of the factory is actually historic.
I'd assumed.
This factory was started in 1919.
Yeah. The layout's absolutely unbelievable. And no wonder they have to start by putting the wheels on, because the car chassis is pushed up and down this hill for every additional step to be carried out. That's all money, all time, and all wasted expense.
cockpit area will be panelled.
Yeah.
Go to the far end of the shop and the wings and the car will be fitted into the centre for the bonnet to be fitted.
I accept the need to hand build the car, but they don't even like to use power tools. And everything is done in the most basic way. I cannot see that a Morgan owner is going to be fussed whether people use a hand file or an electrical abrasive, or whether they use hand snips or power snips. How long have you been working here?
25 years, first to next one.
Bloody hell. Did you do your apprenticeship here? And how long does it take to train up in sheet metal working now?
They've dropped it down to 4 years now. It was 5 when I did my apprenticeship. Get people coming from other industry into here and they struggle.
But I mean, this is going to be such a limiting factor on anything you want to do.
It is.
There's something you'll have to give here.
Yeah.
This is the shot that counts with the actual finished article.
We have certain planned batches that we produce in certain periods of time.
But I mean, do you have a planning system or a planning office or a...
We don't have a planning office. It's again literally done individually, actually in the shop's concerned and related. The sales office really controls the flow of production. Each week they will issue a ticket saying that is the number of cars we're going to produce on such a day.
How do you do? Glad to meet you.
We'll look around at our production.
Marvelling, actually. I haven't seen some of the blades you got. I haven't seen since I was a bloody boy. Now, what's the reward system? How are the bonuses set up? Are they work measured or are they...
Largely work measured, yes. Basically with a discussion between the foreman and in some cases the person concerned. And
but I mean, do you have a work study officer here with a stopwatch and that sort of thing?
No, we don't.
No.
It's all a case of, again, trust and
experience.
We've got a good idea how long it takes to make a component, for instance. The foreman obviously has, in most cases, actually made the component, so you could say to him, well, look, how long is it? Right, John. Ron Morgan +8 if you'd like to try.
Thank you very much, Dean. Which model is this?
This is a +8 with a Rotor 3.5 litre V8 fuel injected engine.
My gosh, I hope you... you may never see me again. Thanks a lot.
Enjoy your trip.
Well done. My golly, this thing sure can go. I hope it can stop as well as it can move. I'm really deeply concerned about this company. It is run in a totally unbusinesslike way. There are so many ways in which the profitability could be improved, in which production could be improved, but all of them involve radical change. The present approach of just trying to sort of foothill their way through to one more car a week and then another car a week is absolutely hopeless. Every single person I've met is imbued with a real fear of change. So there's an enormous inbuilt wish to hang on to the way it's been. Now, I think the way it's been is almost automatically doomed because it will become just too expensive. They need to put more investment in. They need to be willing to change a number of ways. And I'm not by any means sure that they actually have the capability to do all of that. I'm convinced this factory can make a lot more cars. Now I need to meet Derek Day, the sales director, to find out what the actual demand for the car is before I decide what we should be aiming for in terms of numbers. Well, you're the guy I've always wanted to meet, the non-sales manager.
That's true, yes, yes.
If you could wave a magic wand, what do you think the sustainable demand is? And then why do you think that?
I think realistically, if we could aim for something in the region of anything between 450 and 500 as a realistic figure, taking into consideration the way the car is made, I don't think it'd be right to mass produce it. I think it'd lose its individuality.
No, but you're working the other way around. You're working on what you think you could produce. You're not working on what you think you could sell.
I think that would be it.
But that number is without any form of back-selling or advertising. The cars, for all practical purposes, sell themselves, don't they?
I mean, they do. I mean, in my job, mine and the rest
I mean, you're
of the
really a rationer of cars.
Well, yes, if you'd like to put it that way, yes.
What is the waiting list now? I mean, how long?
Roughly about 6 years on a home market, yes.
But I mean, you talk almost as though you think that's about right.
Well, it's demand against production, and you know,
but I mean, you know, production is something you can do things about, and that is, I understand, one of the things that is being debated.
Yes, we're trying to increase production.
But the starting point is still really what the demand for this car could be, and we really don't know.
No, there is no. That's absolutely true.
Now I want to meet Maurice Owen, the development engineer, because nobody else in this factory is thinking ahead. And you actually can't be a development engineer unless you're willing to think about change.
The way we make the car, I think, is wrong. I think we should build them in different units. Build the body separately, build the chassis separately, and put the engines in at the end.
Well, that would make logical sense to me.
I think so. Because,
but you see, there's such
thousands of pounds all around the factory, just lying there in cars for 12, 14 weeks.
Well, I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's one of the things that really worries me. For a car to spend 3 months in manufacture in this factory with all the attendant costs seems to me to be absolutely crazy.
No, I think so. I quite agree.
If you look at it as a businessman, it's not a business.
Which isn't, no.
See you tomorrow, lads.
I should be most interested what you think, what you felt, having gone round.
Well, there's good news and bad.
Time.
Good news and bad news, of course, as always in these things. First of all, I mean, a company that isn't progressing is actually regressing. Because the world is moving against you. And in your case, I think I can see the ways in which the world is going to move against you. Unless you can actually make the money when you have the demand there, you are not going to have the money to invest. And slowly but surely, your own manufacturing methods are going to catch up with you, because you'll be rewarding you have to reward your people at the rate of inflation, and slowly but surely the car will become more and more and more expensive relative to other products. So over a period of time, it won't happen quickly. Over a period of time, even though you've got this order position, you'll find the thing erodes. I have never been anywhere where there is such total conservatism with a little c. There's such fear that changing anything, anywhere, is going to destroy the magic. So my diagnosis, quite honestly, is any change is going to be a hell of a battle. Therefore, you may as well go for more radical change, because you only get shot once.
Of course, tradesmen are, you mentioned conservatism. Yes, we all are conservative, and my workers are too. There's no doubt about it, because change comes very, very hard indeed, you know.
In your shoes, I want the capability of making another 300 cars a year, maybe 400 cars a year. And if you had that capability, then it would be extensible beyond that.
You know, the only thing here that I would say is that a lot of people who have been very, very experienced have attempted to make, you know, a sports car like ours and be successful even at selling the numbers we do, and have failed with all the best information at their disposal. So there must be something that we're doing sort of right at the moment.
Oh, no, you are.
And I think that I accept your criticism entirely of slow change. And obviously that at the moment is the policy of the company. But it is beginning to work.
He went against our ideas somewhat insofar as he wasn't impressed with kind of going for one extra car a week. He thought, oh, it should be 300 and no more, and no difficulty with 1,000 cars. Between us, certainly, we're not without experience here of trying to make more cars or how we do it. And I think he is of interest. He's impressed with the firm going as long as it has been and still in existence. But no, I think I would like to go round the floor here and ask for your queries.
Well, I did find him quite knowledgeable, actually, and I was surprised, really, having just been here for a day, how informed he was about the makeup of the car. And but equally, I think we should go for 10 cars and see how we go from there.
A move to, say, 800 cars a year is an enormous step. But nevertheless, when you think of our suppliers, you're still a small manufacturer making 800 cars or 400 cars, but you've doubled the problems, really, with going for 800, haven't you?
So the practicality of producing 300 vehicles, as we do at the moment, in the space we've got, it's impossible, I would have said.
I got a certain amount of sympathy with his feeling that, the waiting list is pretty strong. Maybe what we ought to think about is starting from base and actually looking at the whole way, the car progresses through the factory. And, with the help of new machinery and perhaps even a little bit of new technology. But with that proviso that, we don't want to change anything, really, because everybody loves the car as it is.
It'll be interesting when Sir John does come back with his kind of final ideas or suggestions, and in the meantime we should probably still try and make more cars.
Well, we are trying to do it, but we've had a bloke the last 2 weeks been on holiday, which has made it a bit difficult, but we're hoping to do 10 this week, starting from now.
If we do 10 a week for quite some considerable time, will they still want the cars? See, Mr. Morgan said that, I presume his father told him that not to increase output because it'll ruin the market. This is what I understand. So, I've been here for 40 years, and he never said anything about doing 10 cars to me, only just recently, He's been perfectly happy with 9 cars a week.
I'm convinced this factory needs radical change if it is to survive. It needs looking at the way the car is built de novo. And they have at the moment got a real opportunity. Everything's going for them and nothing stops them except themselves. The difficulty I'm in is that I've already seen how conservative and how frightened of change both Peter and Charles are. So I developed a strategy which is to suggest that they should undertake a study. After all, that doesn't actually expose them to any risk, except the risk of finding out what could be done. The study should force them to then realise the sheer scale of what they're missing and the opportunity that lies ahead for them.
And I would suggest to you that small changes is the way to do it at this stage, because I think to suddenly change the whole of the manufacturing process.
But you keep on temporising. You say at this stage, that implies that at some stage there's going to be a moment when you can't do this minuscule progression a bit at a time. I actually don't look on.
Well, I think
I don't look on the change of 1 extra car a week as being actually significant in what we're talking about.
Well,
I really don't.
I mean, that's 40 cars a year, and that's significant in number.
I don't think that's significant in terms of the scale, either of the opportunity or of the potential problem. I'm not for a moment suggesting that you have to tear up what you've achieved. That would be crazy. But I do think you should look at some alternative scenarios, and it seems to me the sensible thing would be for you and Morris, and probably somebody else who know absolutely what the most modern technology can do, to sit down and look fundamentally
at the way the car is made and whether you cannot actually produce the cars as a handmade car more economically than you are at the present moment, and I'm sure you can.
The way you put it, I think, is putting a lot of pressure on me, and I think that that's right. I think there should be a lot of pressure there, because I don't think one should sit there complacently when, you know, you've got people waiting.
You've got the job.
Waiting, you know, for the car. So
we have got constrictions, as you mentioned rightly. We've got a financial constriction, but equally that's just as vulnerable if we do nothing. If we stand still. I mean, it's never been, one has rather stood still, but it's never been my intention to stand still.
I really do believe that that perhaps a radical solution, you know, should be looked at, and I would like to do that. I just want to make sure that the right people are on our side, because I think that, you know, there's a lot of experts in the motor industry who could come up with a solution, but I'm not necessarily sure it would be better than what we've got at the moment.
I wasn't even remotely suggesting you should use somebody from the motor industry. I think it'd be an absolute disaster.
Mm.
That's better. That's better. Yeah. Let's leave that alone. We'll do it this corner, shall we? He did say have a consultant or somebody like that, but with the greatest respect, Sir John, you have to sort things out yourself. You know, nobody will do it for you, you know. What I'm glad he did agree with was not to change the manner in which the car was made. And I'm afraid if he had said we should do that, he's tended to indicate that certain changes might be needed, but I think he's on a pretty kind of sticky wicket on that one, because the way the car's constructed is one of its strongest selling points. There's no doubt about it.
I've been back a number of times to Morgan. I've introduced them to a first-class manufacturing consultant, but they've not even carried out the study.
That worries the hell out of me. I think the workforce and I think the car are worth more than that.
They even have obligations in a way to all the rest of us, because they are a part of Great Britain Inc., and they do export, and we need everybody who's got that possibility to do it.
Now, just almost as a matter of duty, I feel I've got to go back and have another go, although I do not do so with great expectations.
Well, we built quite a lot of extra, you know, bodies and cars, in fact.
What, how many are you up to a week now? 12, 14?
No, that wasn't on the cards anyway.
No,
if you remember,
I was pulling your leg.
It was a very small increase we were going for.
You were after, yes, so we were trying to go from 9 to 10.
That's right, that's right.
And are you consistently doing 10 now?
Not consistently, no. I mean, that's not to say that we haven't got some plans, you know, from, you know, discussions which we were having in the summer, and which may be instigated in the near future. But no, I'm afraid there's been no cataclysmic, you know, change as such here.
I wasn't really expecting a cataclysmic change, but what I was hoping you'd be sort of looking at the thing fundamentally again, and then introducing a range of fairly radical changes in the manufacturing approach. I would hasten to say that I would ever have dreamt of your departing from the concept of a handmade car.
Well, I think, I agree with what you know, your concept of making change in that way, but I think it must be made with the consultation of, you know, everybody on the workforce.
Oh, of course.
And after one heck of a lot of discussion.
But you've still got an enormous waiting list.
At the moment.
Sure, but you have actually got an enormous waiting list. And you had got the ambition when I first met you both of increasing production with an attempt to get the waiting list down. And you have had some marginal success because you've gone up from 9 cars a week to 9.5. But what are your plans to meet the waiting list?
It's so often once had this situation where literally we've got all these orders, but they're not good. They're not good.
You would like to think that all your customers are magnificent people, but when one of them then sells his order on for £1,000, £2,000, which you see none of, you begin to wonder, well, was he a very nice customer for a Morgan, or was he just a speculator in Morgan car prices?
Well,
and if so,
but you might also,
do we want those sort of people? You know, not really. Not
oh,
really.
Come off it. You might also begin to wonder why you don't put your price up.
And lose what are, in fact, very keen, enthusiastic Morgan owners who'll keep us going for
no, not at all, because the ones who are going to stay.
Only the rich, and the rich are very fickle, and they only like you.
They're not so good at owning anything alike. The impecunious man is the best owner.
That is something that is worth thinking about from a marketing point of view. Believe me, I'm sure it is, because you know that is why so many car manufacturers haven't survived, and we have.
I have pleasure in presenting this magnum of champagne on the occasion of your birthday. Many happy returns and congratulations.
Derek and all present.
Yes, the 3rd of November was a very special day for 2 major reasons. Firstly, I got to the great age of 70, and secondly, it was my retirement. But I'm glad to say that they took me back on the Monday. I retired on the Friday and I was reinstated on the Monday. And the champagne will be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Where are they?
I don't know. That's what we're seeing.
I put them down there, didn't I?
I think Sir John was very hard on us. I think he looked at us from a financial point of view too strongly, and he didn't take into account quite enough the desperate desire we've got for keeping going for another 100 years.
Well, they'll go on being very happy for a while. If nothing changes, I'm sure that everybody here will go on being very happy for a while. They will remember my visit, I hope, with wry humour. But if they really do nothing, and believe me, I pray they will make some changes, in my view, this car will disappear. I don't know how long it'll be, but over a period of time, this will all disappear.